Let us not dawdle, for there are grudges to settle, and new entries in the Dammer's Cron to right!
Howdy, howdy, Sue Devil here, and welcome to another Dwarf game versus the Empire. And in this game, the Empire is actually going to be generaled by Aurora Boss, who is my coach. If you've seen the videos we've done together, they're really good. There's two on my channel, two on his. He's a YouTuber. I'll put a link in the description below so you can go to his channel. He's a fantastic top tier player. So in this game, Aurora is bringing Empire, which does have a real difficulty against the Dowie. So I will go over the builds, and I really want to go over a few really important things in this game, which are quite interesting actually. So for the Dowie, in the front line, he's brought 4 quarters. And these quarters are just really to put pressure on a back line. They have lots of ammunition. They can really do a number on Empire. And he also has 1 grudge thrower in his far back line. For his front line, he has 1 group of iron breakers here, just offset. And he has a whole bunch of dwarf warriors and longbeards with great weapons. So dwarf warriors in the front, 3 times 3 there. 2 longbeards with great weapons on this side, and 2 longbeards with great weapons on this side. And he does have 2 miners with blasting charge down the middle, backed up by Grumbrindle, the white dwarf, with his flash bomb, which is minus 76% charge speed, minus 76% speed, and minus 27 melee defense for 16 seconds. He has Foe Seeker for the 24% speed, 18% vigor, and his bound ability, Grumbrindle has no fear, for the map wide unbreakable for 32 seconds. Finally, he has 1 group of Giant Slayer. So, you know, a pretty beefy dwarf army. And facing him, there's a couple interesting ideas in the army and in the gameplay. Aurora Boss has 6 spearmen with shields ranked up to rank 9. Now, why would you do that? Well, that puts their melee defense up to 56 and their melee attack up to 25. Their purpose is, with those shields, is not to do damage, it's to hold. To hold for what, you say? Those 6 spearmen with rank 9 chevrons, the 75 leadership just standing right here, are meant to hold up so these handgunners can go to work. So there are 3 handgunners and there are 3 great cannons in the background here. Finally, there is a Jade Wizard, and this Jade Wizard is just on foot all the way in the back. Really, he has the Power Stone for the improved reserves for magic, and he has Regrowth, Earth Blood, and every time he casts, he has Life Bloom for the heals. And for his leader, he does have Karl Franz. I do know Aurora Boss quite likes Karl Franz, and Aurora Boss really, really knows how to play Empire. He has a lot of great videos called Never Give Up, where he says Empire never give up. I love watching those videos. Anyways, he has a Reichland Rune Flang, plus 26 melee attack, plus 8 leadership, the Foe Seeker, 24% speed and 18% vigor. He does have Hold the Line for plus 5 melee defense, plus 4 leadership, and Blood Roar. So when he's in melee, it's minus 8 leadership, which, going along with this Fear and Terror, can really give you a routing bomb. It's a lot harder to pull off against dwarfs, but it is possible. Finally, he has 2 Empire Knights, and these Empire Knights are not armor piercing, but they are anti-infantry. So they, even though they don't have a true anti-infantry bonus, but they are shielded. So we'll get this underway. Right away, the grudge thrower is not targeted, but it is shooting because it has some things in range. The grudge thrower goes all the way sort of out to here. I'm not sure what it's shooting at right now. So Aurora Boss, really, he just wants to push up and kind of create a front line. He doesn't actually want to engage. He wants the front line to be up here, and he wants to let his cannons go to work. So you can see he's bringing his cannons up. Already, he's got his 3 cannons focused on this grudge thrower. And this is actually a mistake. Like, the dwarfs don't have the speed to support. Now, dwarfs can support with other range, but you can see already these ranged are too far away from this grudge thrower, and there's nothing that's going to be able to support. And we've got a Flying Lord over here and 2 units of Empire Knights. So you're going to watch. He's already changed his target. He was going to take that grudge thrower out, but Aurora Boss, very, very veteran player. He's like, you know what? I'm going to go and take Karl Franz, and I'm going to go over with to sort of this side with my cavalry, and I can bring my cavalry right around. There's nothing protecting that grudge thrower. It is going to work. So he's changed to sort of shoot into this blob, into the great weapon infantry for the dwarfs up here. And meanwhile, the dwarfs have come up. They are not engaging. They've sort of set their line up here. Again, Aurora Boss does another really good thing. He's actually going to try and pick off the corner of the, you're going to see the corner of this group of Longbeards with great weapons, and do his best to stay out of range of the quarters. His cannons are firing. His handgunners are firing. You can see way off in the back, these guys are out here. They're going to come out pretty soon. And Aurora Boss wants to sort of try and get in a quote-unquote free charge on these Longbeards with great weapons, but they do have charge defense against large, and they do stand in quite well for anti-large because they are armor piercing, and that's one of the areas where they're alright, because these guys only have 28 melee defense. These guys have 30 melee attack. They can do pretty well in dealing with these Empire Knights, and the Empire Knights don't have armor piercing, so the Longbeards here are going to stand up very nicely, but you know, Aurora Boss is like, well, if you're going to give that to me, I'm going to take it. In here comes the charge. Really, you're going to see those Empire Knights coming in, absolutely obliterating that grudge thrower, which makes me sad, but you know, it is what it is. The Dowie player didn't protect because he had nothing to come back. He does have these Giant Slayers who are coming in and going to work on this edge pressure, but Aurora Boss is going to bring in these Spearmen to sort of help control the Giant Slayers because he does want them to get involved. He's already got rid of that grudge thrower over there, and now he's bringing up his Spearmen with shields, and he's still got his cannons focused now over here, and you can see he's done a great job on these Longbeards over here. Meanwhile, this battle is still resolving, so Aurora Boss is like, okay, I'm going to just start charging things in the back. What's the best thing I can charge in the back? Well, maybe it's those Iron Breakers. They're sitting there for free. Well, he's got some quarters up here as well. I'm going to pincher them, and he goes in and gets that charge off, and a number of dwarfs go flying. Still, though, this is like a testament to why I love the dwarfs. You know, Aurora Boss has free range. He has Karl Franz. He has a Spearman. He has Empire Knights, and these two Longbeards are just fighting like absolute champs in here. 1,500 gold worth, I'm going to say 3,000 gold at least, and they're doing just fine. These Giant Slayers are going to chase back here, and I think then they're going to come back in. This front line, the Spearmen are getting really pounded out by these quarters. Like, even though they have the shields, they don't have very much armor, so they don't hold up to that Dowie light missile fire. Now, unfortunately, he's going to get his handgunner in range because he wants to get shots on the Dwarf Warriors with great weapons, and he's going to put himself in range of the quarters. Eventually, they're going to see that. He's still sort of shooting this edge and kind of setting up this edge to stay away from the quarters. Once they start shooting, he might try to reposition here. The main thing is these cannons are still online. They're just going to work. 48 kills, 61 kills, 62 kills. They're just shooting free right into the Dowie great weapons. He's come all the way around with these Spearmen with shields. Like, you know, that's about the only type of army that you could flank with Spearmen with shields is the Dowie army. He's going to come up in here. This is still not resolved. I absolutely love. This is why I love the Dowie. Look at that. Look at those heroes of the Dowie holds. Longbeards fighting Karl Franz, fighting the Spearmen, taking multiple charges, bloody, still fighting. Beautiful. And, you know, eventually they're going to lose that, but they've tied up Karl Franz for a very long time, and Spearmen with shields, and these guys are going to come in for yet another charge, I believe. And these guys, they routed these Empire Knights. I didn't actually show that. But these guys are going to come in, and the fighting continues on this flank. We do have the Giant Slayers over here. They're going to come in and try and get onto Karl Franz. Franz is trying to go and quickly route these quarters. That's the one thing that the Dowie are great at, is they are pretty hard to route. Grombrindle's going to come in and try and get a piece as well. Karl Franz definitely will not hold up to these Giant Slayers, so he has to get out of dodge because he does not want to stay into that fight. If he had Grombrindle, if he had the if he had his flash bomb right there, that could have meant the end for Karl, but Aurora's just able to take him out in time. Now the quarters are doing what quarters do. They're all focusing in on singular targets over here. Really, they're absolutely going to obliterate whatever they focused on. You can see they focused on these guys. In come the cannons. Now, Aurora Boss has just said, well, I can actually kite the Ironbreakers. I'm going to get my cannons out. I'm going to chase him down with Karl Franz. I'm going to make sure that they do not get obliterated, because that's sort of his win condition. He needs his cannons to be online. They have plenty of ammo left. He needs to stop those Ironbreakers, stop the miners, and now he's shooting in with the handgunners here. And I guarantee you, yeah, he's already putting up another line of fire. And because Aurora Boss is a very strong player, he's just going to completely focus this bit down. But now Karl Franz is going to get focused by the Dowie in this side, still resolving. Now we've got a couple of routes here in the Giant Slayers, but these guys have done a fantastic job for the Dowie. Really holding down that flank. In this middle pocket, you can see the Quarters have tons of ammo left, and they're slowly whittling away at Karl Franz. He does. Where's his healer? Is his healer over here? There's a Jade Wizard way over there. Looks like the Jade Wizard taking a bit of a beating. Now Karl has to get out of there, because he does have 100 armor, but that's withering fire from those guys, and it's not nothing. And you can see the cannons have managed to get the cannons themselves back. He's repositioning them into a more defensible position. These miners with blasting charges are over here. They're getting shot in the back by these handgunners. Well, these handgunners sort of kite away. These spearmen are coming back to try and get involved, and you see Karl Franz. Really, it's all about trying to start out this back line so his main units can start firing. And in come the cannons. They can now shoot once again. These cannons can start working their way around to where they need to be while these handgunners shoot. He does have the Jade Wizard coming in here to try and actually slow these guys down along with some Empire Knights. He can't stay in there for long because some heavy hitters are coming. These guys are finally routing, and these guys have rallied. So they routed and rallied. So what is there, like 14 of them left, 467 health, and these guys have rallied. They will be able to come back into the fight. Grombrindle needs to get back into the fight. He needs these Giant Slayers to get back in the fight. And meanwhile, the Jade Wizard has to get out of here, cannot stay in here and fight with the Dowie. Karl Franz has come in, really to try and hang a licking on these units in here, and they're all collapsing on him, but he's got now his cannons are both online. These handgunners are almost out of ammo, and everyone's trying to collapse on Karl. Here come the Giant Slayers. Urkabah sees that, and he pulls them out. And now the Dowie are not going to have a target. So now it's time to reform lines for the Dowie and to reform lines for the Empire. And you can see, again, he's just trying to shoot at those free targets in here. These guys are coming back. And Grombrindle, like this is sort of, when you see really great players playing, you can see this Jade Wizard is getting beat down by the quarters, which I actually really love. But there's a saying in multiplayer, that Dwarf Lords are hard to kill but easy to ignore, and there's Grombrindle, just being ignored. He's been ignored for most of the fight. No need to fight him, so they're letting him be now. He really does need to get up into this area to help support his main troops. These guys have gotten over to get into the Spearmen. They will crush them. These cannons are still online, and he's just repositioning them. These cannons are going to kind of come and get online. They have lots of ammo left. He wants Karl Franz to get in here and start cycle charging, and with the support of the Spearman, Jade Wizard is just there to heal. He just wants to keep getting heals. You can see Karl Franz is almost up to his healing cap. He's coming here to get fighting again, and we have, there's our Giant Slayers over there coming back. Everything's coming in here to try and support against Karl Franz. And the handgunners are still here. Now, this is kind of a key part. You can see they're starting to shoot into these Giant Slayers, into these Dwarf Warriors, getting shots into there. These guys are now going to kite out, and Karl Franz can kite back in. These guys can go back in. It's just a matter of cycle charging into the Dowie, because there's a giant defensive Dowie position here. And Grombrindle has to be ready. Really, his Flash Bomb has to be up, but he has to be ready to defend against Karl Franz. And this is like sort of classic. This is classic trying to pull the Dowie apart. The Dowie player is being very patient here. He does have some ammo left. He's not sort of scattering himself to the winds. He's staying in a sort of at least a semi-defensible pocket. But Rourke Boss, like the good player he is just using all of his ammo up, or at least trying to use all of his ammo up. before he engages. Now you can take these guys out, you can take these guys out, you can keep these guys here and ready until he's ready to take the engagement on his terms. And you see he's just circling around waiting for that last bit of ammo to be used. There's what, 3 ammunition on these guys, 3 on these guys, not much left total. And you see Grombrindle is getting pulled apart here, getting pulled out here along with these Giant Slayers. Big mistake. You can see immediately, oh man, Orca Boss is so good. He sees that immediately. There's too far out, and he's just going to go in here and start charging these guys. Terrified quarters, and everyone's going to be in real trouble right away. He's just going to get a mass terror out of these units. I mean, Grombrindle still has a ton of health left, and these guys still have lots left, but he's basically terror routed or routed everything in this pocket, which is a crying shame, because the Grombrindle was not around there to help protect him, and the Giant Slayers were not in there either. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What do we got? Are these guys going to rout? Yes or no? 8. 9 Dowie units routing. It's going to be 10 very soon because of that mistake. Really amazing what small mistakes can make. And you know, even though Grombrindle is in good health here, we do have a little bit of ammo left with these quarters. Now these guys are going to be routing, and he's going to be able to keep them routing much more easily. So he's still got these cannons both shooting. These cannons are now finally coming to get on their cannons. They've been patiently waiting for a very long time. And you've seen how patient Orca Boss has been, and that's, you know, Orca Boss does talk to me in our coaching sessions about patience and taking your time, because there's no rush to get things done. And now he's going to take some shots against Grombrindle. He's got his cannon shooting at Grombrindle. It's just time to escort all these guys off, because they are not immune to fear or terror. So he's just going to use Karl Franz to escort these guys all off. And now he's going to use all his range at point blank to shoot at Grombrindle. And there's not really anything that the Dowie can do, except for, well, really he should be just charging all of these cannon positions, to be perfectly honest. But he's really, you can see he's trying to take a position up in here. But now all these guys are going to do a ton of damage to Grombrindle, and these units are not coming back. Orca Boss is a veteran player. He's going to make sure all of these units get escorted right off the field, and he's going to keep this surround going, and he's going to keep the target going. Now it's time to just finish off Grombrindle, so that's what he's going to do. The Dowie player has realized he's got to charge into those cannons and at least try and get them, and what he's got here is just a set of handgunners to get in the way. In comes army losses. It's just the Giant Slayers, and that's the match. These Giant Slayers, you know, maybe these 6 Giant Slayers might be able to take the handgunners, but really, that's it. So interesting game, and interesting way that it was played. So, you know, I don't know that this is the perfect build. Like, Orca Boss, after I was talking to him, I did talk to him about this game a little bit, and he said, well, he didn't really like the build with his Spearman with shields, but I mean, I like the game, and it's interesting to watch. If we go and we'll go and look at the end plates, and sort of, it's interesting to talk about how he did what he did, and it's a good, I don't say not warning, but a good thing to know as a Dwarf player, to be careful about giving away things for free. Like this Grudge Thrower, just gave it away for completely for free. Didn't need to at all. And he took, like, you know, he took a lot of damage from those cannons. Like, look at those cannons, 90, 125, and 56. You know, it might as well, if he was going to take all that damage from the cannons, might as well save the Grudge Thrower. For Orca Boss's units, Karl Franz, 148 kills, used him masterfully. 2 for the Jade Wizard, and was just there for the heals. 6, 0, 33, 53, 2, and 1 for the chevroned up Spearman, 67 and 75 and 72 for these handgunners. Just absolutely ridiculous. And you can see how Orca Boss was using these guys, trying to keep them generally out of range, being very patient with their ammo, putting them on the right things at all time. Very efficient use of those units. 40 and 30 for the Empire Knights. You know, I know that he wanted to get rid of those Iron Breakers and the Longbeards on the edges, But it was a long haul to get rid of those guys, but he eventually did get it for the Dowie. 13 with Grombrindle, 6 and 8 with the Miners with Blasting Charges, 15, 9, and 20 with the Dwarf Warriors, 1, 15, 27, 15 with the Longbeards with Great Weapons, 84 for those Giant Slayers. Giant Slayers really do a lot of killing. Only 38 with the Ironbreakers. Here's really the meat of the army, 68, 53, 40, and 33 with the Quarrelers. And, you know, I mean, base Quarrelers are great in this matchup, to be honest. I mean, I use Bugman's Rangers in my own builds, but base Quarrelers and Thunders are really, really strong in this matchup for the Dowie, but it is what it is. Really, why I wanted to show this game is to see how the Dowie can be picked apart by a very good player. Now, I know I've shown 2 games of Rourke Bosses in a row where he's absolutely demolished Dowie builds with the Dark Elves and now the Empire, and they're good to see. They're good to see and good to understand what's going on and why those defeats were so bad. And you could see even in this, the Dowie player did have time to think about what he is doing, and had he worked it out and actually instead of breaking his units apart and allowing Karl Franz to get in there and terror out everything, kept everything pretty much together, and at least gone after one cannon at a time. You know, like, here's the problem with a worker boss. He would have spread his cannons out and ran away with his cannons. But, you know, at least you got to do something, right? You got to do something, got to try something. So, anyways, I hope you found that interesting. I'd love to hear from you in the comments section down below. Do you play Empire? Have you played against the Dowie? What kind of builds do you use? Have you ever chevroned up your spearmen in this fashion to try and make them a little tankier for that front line? And, you know, if you've played against the Empire recently, let me know. I feel that's a pretty strong matchup for the Dowie. But here you see a great player like Rourke Boss is able to turn the tide on those odds. Anyways, that said, I hope you found it interesting, and I will see you soon.